So to build up our four-man 8-volt regulator, I want to see exactly how much current is being drawn on that 8-volt pin. So I have my ammeter connected in series now from the positive jumper wire through the meter to that pin. We're at battery voltage. We're drawing 0.3 amps. So remember that number? Now let's go to the whiteboard of knowledge and see if we can rig up a resistor to drop this voltage down to 8. Alright guys, wouldn't be a complete diagnosis and repair without a little math. So I want to devise a poor man's 8-volt regulator, okay? So we don't have to replace the PCM. Now, let's start with Ohm's law. Voltage equals current times resistance. And when we just jumped straight battery power to that pin, 14 volts, okay, we got a current of 0.3 amps on our ammeter. Now from here, we can figure out what the effective resistance is of the whole of that whole tree, you know, PCM and the 4 sensors on it. So calculating the effective resistance, voltage over current, 14 over 0.3, we get about 47 ohms. Okay, that's our effective resistance of that 8-volt tree. Now this number will be very important. Now we want to add this external resistor. We can see our external, and our goal is to get 8 volts at the output here, you know, on that pin. So here's the schematic. So our effective resistance of the PCM and sensors we just calculated from our measurement, and now we need to figure out what to put in here. You know, we'll feed it battery voltage, maybe from an ignition source, so it's off when the key is off. And we're aiming for 8 volts right here. So how do we do this? Alright, so back to Ohm's law. We know that the current will be the same through both resistors. You know, it's one continuous path. So our current will be voltage over resistance. That's our generic formula. And that will be, so we can break it up into 2 parts. 8 volts across the effective resistance. So 8 volts over R effective, and that's 0.3 amps, equals, now what's the voltage drop across this external resistor? Assuming battery voltage here, and we want 8 volts right here. That would be 6 volts, right? Now 6 volts across our R external. And that's what we don't know. But from here, it's very simple. We'll just take 6 volts multiplied by our R effective, so multiply by 47 ohms, and divide by 8 volts. There you go. So our external should be about 35 ohms. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to install a 35 ohm resistor from a battery voltage source to that pin, and we'll see if we get close to 8 volts. Now it doesn't have to be exactly 8, you know, there's a tolerance in there. As long as everything works, we have communication, and you know, all the sensors do what they need to do. Now I'm looking at my pile of resistors here. The lowest one I have is 10 ohms. Next one is 47, then 100, 150. So obviously we don't have a 35 ohm resistor there, so we have to kind of mix and match here. So we could connect, you know, 3 10 ohm resistors in series to get 30 ohms. That's one option. We could do 47 ohms. So here we have to again do a little math. So our total resistor, if we're connecting them in parallel, would be 1 over R1 plus 1 over R2. Okay? That's the formula for parallel resistances. So let's try, let's see, R1 equals 47 ohms and R2 equals, let's say, 100 ohms. So 1 divided by 47 plus 1 divided by 100. Now we want to take the 1 divided by the answer, 32 ohms. So that combination gives us around 32 ohms. And I think that's pretty close to what we need, 35. So let's just do that. Let's twist these in parallel, get some jumper wires and put on the truck and see if we can bring down this voltage down to around 8 volts and see if it runs. Alright, I got our twisted pair of resistors from our jumper wire from battery positive through our ammeter. Switch that on. We got 0.1 of an amp going in right now. See if it runs and measure the voltage. Uh-oh. Oh, bad connection. Okay. 0.15 amps. Why is their voltmeter not reading? Should have a, let's see. Lead wasn't in. Always check your equipment. Alright, 8.6 volts. Let's see if I can get this thing started again. What the heck? Okay, well let's try it the old way with the jumper wire. Now we're back at 12. Jeez. Amps. Now keep in mind, when we're cranking, battery system voltage is dropping, so in that case our resistors, you know, we aim for 8 volts, but if we're dropping from like 14 to 10 on battery voltage, we're going to be dropping down to 6 or something on our wire there. So yeah, that's why they have regulators and not just resistors. Okay, well, let's see what we can do from here. So the fatal flaw in my design here is forgot to consider that during cranking, system voltage is going to drop. Let's say it drops to 10 volts. Okay, so 10 divided by 14, we're losing like 30% of our battery voltage. So that means our 8 volts designed will drop to, let's see, times 8, about 5.7 volts. Which is not good. The system won't work. So in this case, I'm thinking, well, obviously a truck runs when we put full battery voltage to to that tree. If we can drop it down just a little bit, you know, not to 8 volts during running, but maybe even to 10 or 11, we should still be okay as long as it's lower than system voltage. I mean, I don't know how sensitive everything is, but I know it works at full battery voltage. So let's see what happens if, for example, we just put in a 10 ohm resistor instead of this like 30 ohm resistor. Okay, what will our voltage be on that tree? So let's calculate that real quick. Okay, so now we're doing kind of the reverse problem. We're choosing a resistor, and we want to find out what our reference voltage will be here. So if we lower this resistor, this will go up. And we don't want it to drop below 8 volts on a crank. Okay, so again, our current will be the total voltage over total resistance. Okay, so that'll be during running 14 volts over 10 ohms plus 47 ohms. So that's external resistance plus effective resistance of the system. So let's calculate that real quick. So 14 divided by 57, 0.25 amps. Now that we found our current, so our V reference will be current 0.25 amps times the effective resistance, and that's 47. So this times 47, 11.5 volts running. So 1 and 2, what will Vref be on a crank? So here we can substitute 10 instead of 14. So 10 divided by 57. So this will go to 0.17 amps cranking. And Vref on a crank, this is run, will equal 0.17 amps times our effective times 47 ohms equals 8.2 volts. So on a crank, we should not drop below 8.2 volts, and running will be at 11.5, so not quite battery voltage, you know, not 14 and a half. So I think that's a good compromise. So it should start up just fine, and it should stay running just fine, and that voltage shouldn't be too high for whatever the logic needs to do. So let's try a 10 ohm resistor. Alright, we got our 10 ohm resistor now in series, 0.15 amps, 11.3 volts. Now I'm going to see how far this voltage is going to drop when I'm cranking. So we're going to look through the windshield here at our P-min. We have 9.3 volts right now. Check engine light comes on, it's good. Let's see. Starts up. We dropped to about 6.3, but it started. Let's see what the voltage is when it's running. We got 0.27 amps going in. $11.7, math doesn't lie, huh? So I think that's it. We can leave it like that. So let's actually connect the other side of this resistor, not to a constant power, but to a ignition switch power. And I think this truck will be fixed. No reason to mess with the PCM. I mean, if you want to tear it apart and see what's going on with the regulator, we know it's, I don't know, maybe there's a cracked solder joint in there. That would be a neat fix, wouldn't it? Alright guys, here's the poor man's fix. Here's a resistor from ignition power, that black and green wire in pin 9, to the 8-volt reference on pin 7. So 10 ohm resistor. Moment of truth. Sweet. Gonna take it for a spin, huh? The fuel's saying it's out of fuel. Is it out of fuel? It'd be funny if I roll down the driveway and run out of gas, right? Yeah, this thing's low mileage, 66,000 miles, that's it. Oh yeah. We'll see what that maintenance required light's all about. Alright, we'll call this one a fix. Guess if we have time we might take the PCM out and look for cracked solder joints at that 8-volt reference wire, but hey, they want it done and save them 300 bucks. I think we'll just leave it like this. Alright guys, just to satisfy everyone's curiosity, including my own, I took the cover off the PCM. So that's what it looks like right here. And there's the software update number, and let's see here, module serial number, part number 56028331. Okay, so here it looks like we don't have any serviceable items. The whole thing is covered by this soft silicone. I don't know what this is, but after 20 years you can see it's starting to crack. Huge heat sinks here. This must be the drivers for the ignition coils. So definitely some heat created in here. And the 8-volt regulator, I don't know where that would be. Got some components sticking out here, capacitors. So what I might do is blow this out and just spray my favorite, maybe fluid film or WD-40 or something, to prevent moisture from getting into these cracks. And otherwise we're just going to stick with the poor man's repair until this thing finally bites the dust, and you know, a new PCM will be the fix then. But for now we can call this one diagnosed and band-aided. Right? Alright guys, hope you enjoyed that one as much as I did. It wasn't a bad ground, and it wasn't a shorted crankshaft position sensor like it sometimes is. Alright guys, catch you next time. Bye bye. Hey guys, welcome back for part 2 of the Dodge Ram no start case study. It's back after a week, and the issue with no start, on a cold morning is back. So we'll see if the temporary fix finally failed. The customer brought us a used PCM bought off of eBay. So we got that to play around with. So I want to do some more checks on the PCM here, and also the ASD relay and the fuel pump relay, just to make sure we're not overlooking anything. And then we'll try out the new PCM. So here we go. So I got the truck running. There's our voltage on the camshaft position sensor. The feed, it should be 8, but obviously with our homemade jumper, it's battery voltage. And again, I pull this out. Ready? It's dead. And we got nothing. So maybe 0.2 volts on that 8 volt feed. So that 8 volt regulator in there is completely toast now. And turn the key on and off here. So key off, key on. Everything's normal. We get a fuel pump prime. Obviously no start because we don't have any 8 volt feed to the cam and crank sensors. So at this point I'm going to put in the new PCM. We're going to make sure our 8 volt reference is there, and hopefully this truck will be fixed. Well, here's a shot of the internals of the new PCM, and obviously it doesn't look that much better. Let's see, this guy is from, it was updated in 98. So there's the Chrysler part number, see if it matches here. So you got 5602 8331, 5602 8331. So the part numbers are the same, so at least we have a chance. Let's maybe I'll just plug it in before bolting it down and see if the truck runs. Alright, got it plugged in. Got our voltmeter on the 8 volt reference. Let's turn the key and see what happens. Got our prime, got our lights, got our 8.9, so 9 volt reference there. Should fire right up. Yeah. Sweet. Steady 9 volts. That's great. It's still running lean like we saw last time. That's why it's kind of stumbling right now. He's learning. We got our maintenance required light, so we'll reset that with a Varus. But I think we're in good shape.